Oh boy, the Light of MOTIRAM. You know, that game that very closely resembled Horizon Zero Dawn franchise? Looks like Sony have actually decided, you know what, yeah, you are probably copying us, and have gone and sued Tencent. This is really interesting because they're partners in a bunch of different ways. Tencent own a small percentage of Sony games. They've worked together a bunch of times on different aspects, especially for games porting over in certain places like China. And it looks like MOTIRAM now, due to the court case that might actually be pending, has revamped and changed a bunch of stuff, with the biggest news being that it's going to be now delayed until the end of 2027. This game was meant to come out by the end of this year. So let's dive into it. So there's a few articles around, but Vicky Blake from Eurogamer covers it pretty much. Tencent has quietly removed, edited and replaced key art on the Steam page of its upcoming adventure game Light MOTIRAM just days after Sony filed a copyright lawsuit. At the end of last year, the game got revealed by Polaris Quest, with the publishers being Tencent, and Tencent actually owning Polaris Quest. Fast forward to July, and Sony announced it was suing Tencent for allegedly ripping off PlayStation's Horizon video game franchise, claiming Tencent had asked Sony for permission to license the IP and pushed on with slavish clone Light MOTIRAM despite Sony's refusal. So yeah, this is crazy stuff. Now this port did actually get made over a week ago, but the changes to the Steam page are really interesting, and why I'm covering it more today. Instead of mentioning now the Mechanimals or the machines, pretty much all wording of that has been removed. Previously, the description said, in a world overrun by colossal machines, explore the vast open world, build your base operations, advance technology, train Mechanimals and take on formidable bosses. Starting from the primitive age, forge a new path of development, defy the machines, machination, survive with Mechanimals. Now it's simply make use of everything around you to stay alive and face off against formidable bosses. Every step is fraught with danger and requires courage. Only by overcoming the challenges of survival can you carve out a place for yourself in this unforgiving land. I've removed a bunch of screenshots as well, predominantly ones that definitely give vibes of Aloy, and instead now have more just generic shots showing off locations and maybe some of the Mechanimals, the small ones at least, that looked or resembled PALs, rather than anything that we've seen in Horizon Zero Dawn. Crazy stuff, but yeah, this has been removed, and in its place something like this. So depending how you're looking at it, you might be a bit sad. I totally call this out as a clone, and I can't believe anyone was sitting there trying to defend and say it wasn't. Yes, Horizon Zero Dawn don't own the concept of Mechanimals. We've obviously got Transformers back in the day with Beast Wars. That's been a long held trope, but the actual style, the visuals, the main character art they used, so many of the actual robots that we'd seen from the trailer and stuff really did resemble so much Horizon Zero Dawn. It'd be challenging to find anyone that didn't know anything about the franchises to watch either trailer and not think they're part of the same world. So yeah, between the two reports, Light MOTIRAM began work in 2023 before it actually got a permission or tried to sell itself to Sony in 2024. Supposedly Sony have approached Tencent informally to resolve the copyright dispute. However, Sony said when it approached Tencent about the issue, Tencent once again tried to obtain a license to use Horizon assets, which Sony again declined. So you'd think maybe Tencent would be challenging this a bit more, but with the changes that are now happening with the Steam page, does look like they've pretty much said, nah, you know what, you can win this one. And these changes are obviously massively in game. This isn't just about hiding some stuff in promotional shots. This is about wholesale changes to maybe make it look a little bit less like Horizon Zero Dawn and hopefully comply with what Sony want. And yeah, it's a shame in a way. Like I said, I think clones can have their place for sure. Rust started out as a DayZ clone, but it did move in its own direction. Light MOTIRAM is meant to be a big multiplayer faced MMO style game. That's something very clearly different from Horizon Zero Dawn. And although Horizon Zero Dawn's been pretty popular, it still had just maybe not that same cultural zeitgeist as being as big or popular as other Sony franchises. And of course the big one that this would have been available potentially on other platforms, although when it was announced, it was only announced as a PC and Steam, with PlayStation as well at some point. No mention of Xbox. They've been gearing up, they've done a bunch of dev blogs, mini stuff, they've taken the trailers off their channel, they've released a bunch of little gameplay videos and clips and stuff, but it does look like they've removed quite a few of them now. And their website did have a little bit more going on as well, but that looks to have changed too. So who knows, maybe in the short term this is just Tencent making sure that they're not going to necessarily lose the case before it even begins. We'll take out some of the stuff that Sony are unhappy with for the promotional, and we'll just put a release date at 2027 until we resolve it with Sony somehow. And who knows, maybe it will come back online a bit earlier. But yeah, in terms of a new survival game, it did look pretty cool, I can't lie. It was going to be coming out on mobile, which I'm not always that keen on. Like, I just wasn't a big fan of Once Human. The crossovers between the different platforms just made it feel a little bit janky to me. I mean, janky in a different way than usual survival games. You guys let me know though, what do you think about this? Is it a shame? Is it right that maybe this ripoff wasn't going to be developed so fast like Horizon Zero Dawn? What are they possibly going to do now in the future? Change a lot of the mechanical creatures to regular ones? Remodel them so they don't closely resemble? I mean, that all features. Hopefully the game's not fully dead, but it's about as close as it can be right now. And just a little heads up for me and the channel, I've been very busy with grounded content on my other channel, Jade PG Crafted. I've really not been uploading anything because I've just been so busy on it. But I'm going to try and do a bit better. Expect to see some streams or some videos coming for the main channel in the next few weeks. So until next time, rat bags, laters.